Hello, folks. Good evening. You're welcome to another edition of Just Banter. Hope you guys have been having fun in the past couple of days and you had a great weekend as well. Of course, everybody has been speaking about the pandemic gate for quite a while, and that's what has been, trending all over social media, all over the news. Different people, different opinions, and everybody's stressing about the fact that their own opinion actually supersedes everybody else's. But we all know that whatever is wrong, and things need to change in Nigeria. A lot has been said, a lot has been done, but not nearly half enough has been done in actuality. May Day, that's exactly what has been trending in the past few hours. It was May 1st yesterday, and there's a public holiday tomorrow. I think it's a global thing because it's a bank holiday where I am as well. And in Nigeria, I believe it's also a public holiday. Now we're going to see march past, we're going to see parades, we're going to see quite a few things, when it comes to the Workers' Day, how they talk about workers' rights, how they talk about what needs to be done when it comes to the welfare of workers. But when they keep talking about the welfare of workers, do they talk about the welfare of those workers who actually have physical challenges? I doubt it very much because for as long as I can remember, I don't think I've heard anybody talk about the physically challenged when it comes to workers' rights in Nigeria. A couple of days ago, I think on the 22nd to be precise, I saw a post on social media, on Facebook particularly, by Blessing Mary Ocheido, and was a very, very touching piece that she wrote there. It highlighted the neglect that society throws away of people who have physical challenges. And you have to now look at yourself and wonder, have you actually done anything yourself when it comes to aiding the physically challenged? How many buildings in Nigeria are actually wheelchair accessible? How many of them actually make provisions for people who are physically challenged? Almost none, as far as I know, because most places that you go to, those buildings are just designed for people who actually have both their needs still intact. Because in some cases, you see 6, 7, 8-story buildings that don't have elevators, and people have to climb up. So anybody that has any sort of infirmity or disability has naturally been excluded from having access to such an environment. Tonight we're going to be talking to Blessing Mary Ocheido, who made that post, whom incidentally went to Ahmadu Bello University Zaire, so that makes it very, very interesting. And when she tells us our story, I'm sure quite a few people who went to that great college, Ahmadu Bello University Zaire, would be pumping their hands in the air saying, "Yeah, well done," for ABU doing what they did. But first, let's introduce Mary in, and then we'll hear Mary's side of the story as it is. Hello, Mary. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
I can see that NEPA has done their thing and they've taken your electricity supply away. Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Mary?
Ye-
Hello?
hmm. Yes, the network.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, there seems to be a lag. The
Yes,
network
yes.
is,
Sorry about that. Thank you for having me on the show.
yes, okay. So, for those who have never heard of Mary, Blessing Mary Ocheido, Blessing Mary Ocheido is a pharmacist. She is a grantee at the Pollination Project. She's a member, Youth Steering Committee at the UN Women Africa, ONU Pharmafrique. She's an ambassador at Voice. She is an advocate and one of the driving forces behind Ramp Up Nigeria. She's also a fellow at the African Changemakers Initiative. She's also the co-founder at the Platinum Intervention. Now, Mary, that is a lot of stuff that you're doing, isn't it?
Indeed. Indeed. I believe that we are all in this world to do something to make the world better. There's a purpose to why we are all here. And we
Yeah.
cannot say for certain, how long we're going to be here. So my motto is to make haste while the sun shines. And so I am out to make a difference, especially in relation to the experiences that I have had that have held back
Yeah.
millions of other people like me. So yes, that is why I keep doing as much as I can. And I feel like there's still so much more I can do. But thank you for saying that a lot anyway. I still feel like there's so much more I can do.
Well, you are doing so much more than people who have no, form of physical challenges are already doing. You're a pharmacist. Everybody knows that for you to be able to successfully pass through medical school is pretty daunting. It is a heavy challenge, but you were able to do it. Now, we saw a post on social media that you made. Can you tell us a little bit about that post and what made you come up, and talk about our posts, what you did?
Okay, you're referring to the post about my admission challenges, right?
Yes, please. Yes. That
Okay,
was a very
so I
interesting
have
post.
been yes, for many years now, as far back as
Mhm.
2016, when I graduated, I started talking about my experiences because I realized that many people do not understand. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. We can hear you.
Hello?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Hello?
We can hear you. Blessing.
Okay. Okay. I have been speaking out I've been speaking out for many years about the challenges. Okay.
Yes.
I've been speaking out for many years about the physical challenges, about the challenges that uh oh,
Hello, Blessing. Okay, I think we lost Blessing there for a second or two. I'm sure she'll be back very, very shortly. So, Blessing made a post on social media on the 22nd of April. I'm going to read out that post for those who have not seen it. So I'll actually put it on screen, but I actually wanted her to be the one to talk us through it. So she says, in 2008, I applied to study pharmacy at Madonna University, and I was turned down owing to my disability despite my stellar performance at the interview. They told my mom, whom I went with, that being mobility challenged, I will not be able to participate in their compulsory Saturday morning exercises. So there was no place for me at the institution. I remember when we left and how my mom cried her eyes out and told me not to worry, that I was too good for them. Anyway, I eventually got my pharmacy degree from Ahmadu Bello University Zaria. Even then, there were people who did not want me to graduate, as they simply didn't see why I, as a person with a disability, would dare to aspire to a prestigious course like pharmacy. Why not home economics or simply sit at home and be at the mercy of my family's members' kindness? Why did I even dream of financial independence as a girl on a wheelchair? Or more, I don't suffer for this Nigeria. And then she laughs. But seriously though, why are most Nigerian institutions so discriminatory against persons with disabilities? Now, people with disabilities in Nigeria are so far off the radar, it's unbelievable. Now, in a country where most people are off the radar, you would not be surprised that people with disabilities are off the radar. In most places that you go, you see a lot of people with disabilities not actually being in the workforce, but actually being forced to beg. Why? Because they're not given any opportunities. Even when they're competent, it doesn't come up, it doesn't happen. A lot of them are quite brilliant people. I mean, a lot of people know about Steve Hawkins, for instance. Stephen Hawkins, rather, not Steve Hawkins. Stephen Hawkins, with all the disability that he had, is one of the most brilliant minds that the world has seen in recent times. And there are so many other people like him. But he was lucky enough to be in a different part of the world where somehow, some way, he was able to break through because it's also very, very challenging, regardless of wherever you are in the world. In countries like India, you also have these challenges. In countries like China, you have these challenges, as large as they are. I think we have Blessing back. Hello, Blessing. We've got you back.
Oh, hello, so sorry about that. This is quite embarrassing, but
There's no embarrassment
sorry
about it. It's technology. It's
about
technology. It happens. Hello.
Please.
Okay, can you hear me now? Hello, Blessing. Okay, she's still having some challenges, but she'll catch up with us. So,
hello.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you, Blessing.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm
So I said
trying to change my
there's no
location.
embarrassment.
Okay.
There's no embarrassment there when it comes to technology.
Oh,
Things happen. It always happens. So it's not a big
true.
deal, regardless
True
of where you are,
Thank you.
of where you are in the world. So
Thank you so much.
we were talking about your post,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I just read it out
Why
to the
I made a
viewers.
post.
Yeah.
Okay.
So can you tell us a little bit more
Okay.
about
So
that?
I was saying.
Yeah.
Okay, I was saying that I have been for many years now. I have been sharing my experiences, especially post graduation since 2016, because I realized that
Mm-hmm.
many people are not aware of the challenges facing persons with disabilities, and even the persons with disabilities themselves in this kind of society do not know that they have rights and that they should not be treated the way they are treated, and that they are capable of achieving
Mm-hmm.
more than what they are being told. And this is what I've been doing for many years. I speak out about my experiences. If I experience challenges accessing any public space or any kind of discrimination, I just speak about it. And that was where the hashtag which went viral started from. So I started talking about ramping up Nigeria and using that as a means to publicize the Disability Rights Act, to talk about the challenges of persons with disabilities. And so on that day, I just decided, okay, since I've been talking about the lack of access to lack of access to quality education for persons with disabilities for a long time, I said I would share my own experience. Actually, that is not even the first time I've been talking about how I have been the challenges I've faced in terms of education. But this was the first time I was actually putting a name to the institution that turned me back when I tried to gain admission into the college. So that was the motivation. I didn't even think much about it. I only came back and saw that it had gone viral, and I was very happy that it was starting important conversations about inclusion, conversations about accessible spaces. So yes, that was my motivation, and I'm happy that it is bringing up all these positive development.
Well, like I said, it caught my attention. I saw it and I was like, hang on a minute. In truth, how many times have I actually put into consideration people with any form of physical disabilities when we're doing things? Do we look for buildings that are accessible for them? When we want to buy a building, do we think, forward, not even in the present? Do we think forward, okay, what if I have a guest that's going to come and visit me and that person is wheelchair bound, or that person doesn't have, strong enough knees to climb staircases and all those kind of things? It it was
Yeah.
it hit me personally, and I sat back and I thought about it and I was like, that's true. It is something that I personally do not have not taken into consideration. So I can imagine the millions of people who do not put that into consideration all over the world, because I have seen
Indeed.
in so many in so many places you do not actually see that they are wheelchair accessible, especially when it comes to public buildings. And public buildings are
True.
supposed to be for everybody. They're supposed to be, inclusive in the way they are designed. and in the way they are used. But we do not see that,
Indeed.
especially in Nigeria. So it was May Day yesterday, and we know that they're going to be doing a couple of parades and stuff like that tomorrow, which is Monday, which is going to be a public holiday. Now, people don't talk about workers' rights for people with disabilities as well. Have you guys done anything or spoken about anything around that in recent times?
Okay, like I was saying earlier, the Disability Rights Act came into force or came into play finally in 2019 January, when after many years, over 20 years of pushing for it. So in 2019, the
Yeah,
president finally assented to the bill, and we now have a Disability Rights Act. And in that act, we have provisions. We have the law saying that there will be certain quota uh, in every ministry, in every public organization for persons with disabilities.
hmm,
So you have to ensure that you are employing people with disabilities, as long as, of course, they meet the minimum qualifications. So since then, 2019, there have been several rallies, several meetings, stakeholders meetings, protest walks by people from my group, that's persons with disabilities, civil society
yeah,
organizations, and we've just been pushing to ensure that people with disabilities are getting employed in the public sector, getting employed, being recognized as an entity that deserves equal employment opportunities, and aside that they have access to the benefits that the benefits that are enjoyed by their able-bodied counterparts. So these are the things we have been pushing for, although there is still a long way to go, because the discrimination sometimes starts from the very interview stage. Sometimes I remember when I was done my internship and my service here, and I had
yeah,
to I was now in the labor market. I was looking for a job as a pharmacist, and sometimes I'll go for job interviews, and the buildings themselves are not accessible. Sometimes the interview places, the venues are like on the third floor, on the last floor, and there are no elevators. So right from that stage, persons with disabilities are being excluded. And the thing is, it's not just about mobility challenges. You have people with visual impairment, people with hearing
yeah,
impairment. We cannot continue to exclude millions of people like this. Everyone deserves a right to live independently. Nobody wants to have to call their family members to be able to afford basic life necessities. So what we are saying is that persons with disabilities can actually add value to the nation's economy, and holding them back from doing so is even putting a major dent in our productivity as a country. Because why these people should be adding are being set aside, and they are seen as charitable causes, and it is not helping the nation itself. So while we're celebrating Workers' Day, these are the topics, these are the conversations we should be having. Not everyone is like me that has some sort of support, family telling you can do what you have to do what you want to do, and ensuring that you are exposed to such opportunities. And that is why we need to keep speaking out for people that their family members themselves are their own problems. Their family members are hiding them at home, they are not taking them to schools, they are ashamed of them. These are the
yeah.
conversations we want to be having on Workers' Day. Thank you.
So you have looked at quite a lot of stuff that you have put out there. And I got an initial shocker seeing that from the data that you put out there that you had about 20 million Nigerians living with disabilities. Now, I also know for a
Yeah.
fact that a very, very large proportion, much more than half of that number, are people who have been abandoned by their families simply because they have become, quote unquote, a burden to their families, simply because their families cannot afford to take care of them. Most families that live, below the average income, line, are always looking at every member of their family being able to contribute almost, immediately. So we see children at the age of 8, putting trays on their heads and selling stuff. So you now
Yeah.
imagine a child with a disability coming from that, family frame. It now becomes
Yeah.
a huge challenge for them. Now, this
Yeah.
disability bill by, that was signed in 2019. In my opinion, I think it is the first step. But how far do you think it will go? Because in a country where it is difficult to implement even the most basic of laws, how do you think this is going to be implemented?
Okay, so the very first step, the very first requirement of that act was to set up a national commission for persons with disabilities. So this commission is tasked with the duty or the responsibilities of ensuring that this act is implemented in every state across the federal and state levels, or even the local government levels, and that this commission should be mainly constituted by persons with disabilities themselves, because there is no point in saying, okay, we want to do something in the disability community, and you are not even bringing people on board
Yeah.
who know what is happening. Okay, so luckily, fortunately, a few months ago, was it? I think, okay, yes, in 2020, finally, the commission was set up by the president, and now we have a national commission for persons with disabilities. And aside that, we want to ensure that this commission is not just being put there for just tokenistic efforts, that they are
Yeah.
actually being empowered financially and otherwise to carry out their
Mhm.
responsibilities. So yes, I think that there's a whole lot of work that is being done to ensure that this commission does its work, that in a few years to come, we will not be fighting these issues of parents locking up their children with disabilities at home, or abandoning them on the streets, or even sexually or physically violating them. So these are the things we are working on, we are currently fighting and pushing for, and also ensuring that there's also digital capturing of persons with disabilities. So yes, we have come a long way in terms of the fact
Mhm.
that I think there are more conversations now about disability. People are becoming conscious of the fact that you cannot continue to exclude us. However, we still have so much more to do, and we cannot just do it by just talking. And that is why we're also working. We're having stakeholders meeting with the government, public offices, CSOs, humanitarian organizations, just saying that we need to do something and we need to do it fast. Like you stated clearly and correctly, more than 20 million Nigerians have a disability, and that is too large a demography to continue to ignore. Imagine what will happen in a few years' time when these people are left the way they are, if when we are left the way we are. So these are the things, these are the conversations we are having right now. So all of those is changing. So yes, there is still so much more to do, but I'm grateful for how far we have even come in the first place, and it can only
Yeah.
get better, and that is why we need to keep talking about it. Thank you.
Okay, so it has come to light in recent times that quite a few things that have been passed when it comes to the National Assembly is as a result of lobby groups. Do you have lobby groups, or do you have a lobby organization that is working on your behalf with the National Assembly to make sure that quite a few of these things that you're advocating for do come, to pass, that they are implemented?
Yes, there are a number of them. I can mention a few. There's
Oh,
the
brilliant.
joint.
Okay.
Hello, are you there?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, there's a joint national association, the Joint Association of Persons with Disabilities group. They are a lobby group, a very strong group that have been pushing, and in fact, the Disability Rights Act came to be because of this lobbying. People were pushing for it at every level, and these are very strong groups that have been working for many years, and it's as a result of this fight that we're even able to have the commission set up, because the way Nigeria is, it would have taken decades for that commission to have even been set up in the first place. So yes, there are lobby groups like Jonah P, like I just said earlier, and there's
Yeah.
another that I was recently made a part of, more like a participant. They're trying to ensure that the African Disability Protocol is also ratified in Nigeria. So there are a number of groups really working and lobbying to ensure that these acts are being are being implemented. But of course, everything requires funding. So funding has been a major challenge for most of us in our pushing for these changes in the constitution. But we are not giving up, and we'll continue to push until we are where we need to be.
Look at it, I mean, listening to you, like I said, I've got through your profile, extensively. And I'm sure the other viewers who are watching as well, one or two of them will also have gone to go and check, because they can't see you, unfortunately, right now. But I've got to go and check your profile and say, who is this person speaking? You are coming across as a very powerful figure. It is obvious that you are very committed to what you're doing. Now, how do you see the place of people with physical disabilities in politics in Nigeria?
Okay. That's a very interesting question. I have been getting that question a whole lot recently. I was recently having this chat, just like we're having now, with the UN Women Country Representative to Nigeria, Miss Comfort Lamptey, and she was asking me what the UN can do to ensure that young women like me are very active and interested in politics, especially women with disabilities. And I was okay. The thing is, the whole Nigeria, the whole political sphere. The whole political sphere in Nigeria is not encouraging in terms of the security, even for women. Even women are not even do not even have a disability in the first place. We have women being set ablaze in their homes, people getting killed, people being threatened when they aspire to political offices. And these are the things that are really holding me back, because my parents would be like, is it even worth it? However, I have a mentor who I really look up to. Her name is Mrs. Lois Alta, and she is very active in the political sphere. 4 years ago, she ran for office in the Abuja House of Representatives, and even though she did not win that place, but she was able to make like she made a very big statement by just coming out and saying, I am ready to take part in the Nigerian political sphere as a woman on a wheelchair. And so we now know that it is possible to do that. These are things that people did not even dream of. And I believe that the next time she comes out or she runs for office, she's most likely going to win that position. I would even be happy if you can even reach out to her, because she's way more powerful, way more she's doing so much in the disability sphere. She's been the one that has recommended me to so many people, and I'm really proud of the efforts that she is making. Okay, so even though I myself have not been very active in the political sphere, I am actually looking forward to a time when persons with disabilities will be able to take their place in the political sector in Nigeria and make the needed change, because there is no decision that can be made without the people who are most affected. So yes, even though the political sphere in Nigeria is very discouraging, very scary, but there are people like Miss Lois Alta who are already making a difference, and I'm hoping that in a few years to come, I'll be able to overcome my fear and do something as well. So yes,
you're already in politics, because being able to get a group of people together and be able to contribute or influence an outcome, that's politics in itself already. Political office, yes, of course, is a totally different ball game, but you're already in politics. You're already on your way there. Now, looking at the entire political landscape in Nigeria, we did a little research and we found that there's only one politician who has actually either employed or appointed a member of his team who has a physical disability, and that is the Speaker of the House, Femi Gbajabiamila. He's the only person. Nobody else has done that. Of the thousands of political office holders in Nigeria, him being the only one who has done that tells a very, very, deep story about how people with physical disabilities are being excluded in Nigeria, both in the social sphere and in the political sphere. Now, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, you're going to tell us one or two of your personal experiences, especially when it relates to ABU Zaya, because, like I said, a few of them are actually watching this because they would like to hear what your experience has been, both
All
in
right.
your career and while you were in the university, to know what it is like. And maybe a few people can also be encouraged and enlightened to work around the issue of inclusion for people with physical disability. We'll be right back shortly after this.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, once again. If you're just joining us, you're welcome to another edition of Just Banter. Tonight, we are talking to Blessing Mary Ocheido. Blessing Mary Ocheido is a pharmacist. She's the co founder of the Platinum Intervention. She's a strong activist when it comes to the issue of inclusion for people with physical disabilities because she also has a physical disability. Unfortunately, part of the myriad of issues that you have in the country Nigeria is affecting our discussion we had tonight because we can't see her actually. Her electricity supply is off, which I'm sure is something that quite a few people are experiencing at the moment as well. But she's still able to join us, and we've been having a very interesting discussion. And we'll continue the conversation from where we were earlier on, asking Blessing. So, Blessing, tell me, after your experience with Madonna University, how did you gain admission into ABU? What was your experience with the registration process, moving around on campus? Tell us a few things about your experience.
Okay, that's a very interest. That's a very good question, actually. So
Yeah.
when I finished secondary school, I wanted to study pharmacy. I just wanted to study pharmacy because my chemistry teacher was really impressed with me, and it was like I would do very well as a pharmacist, even though I was actually trying to be a medical doctor. But in the end, I decided that pharmacy was a better suit for me because I just liked the idea of drugs, making drugs, the effect of drugs in the body, and just drugs in general. Okay, so I
Yeah.
applied to I applied to Madonna, and when I didn't get in, I remembered because my parents are actually graduates of ABU Zaria themselves, but they never for once
Oh.
recommended ABU because there was so much insecurity at the time when they were
Yeah.
there. I think there were cultism and so much more, and so they didn't even want me to go there. My sisters did not even go to ABU,
What
and
year
but
was
then
that?
I was like, that
What
was
year was that?
my parents' year or mine.
No, yours. Yours.
Okay, mine was just 2010. But
Oh, right.
all of
Okay.
those have been, yes, all the cultism story, I think all of those are now a thing of the past. So when I eventually told them I was going to try ABU, they're like, okay, fine. I heard about this remedial program. If you go for it and you do very well,
Mm,
you're going to get
yeah.
your course. Of course, you will still write the jump again. You take jump again, and if you do well in the remedial program and you do well in your jump, you automatically get the course you want, and you are going to be, but you are going to be on the front list, unlike those who are just applying just with the jam. And you know how
Yeah.
admission into federal schools are for Nigerians. It's very competitive. So I took up the opportunity. The ABU Remedial School is in Castina, Funtua to be precise. So I went to Funtua. I
Mhm.
was in Funtua for 6 months. We're learning, we're writing exams, and I graduated. I did very well. I wrote the jam, I also did very well. And then I got admitted as a pharmacist. I got the pharmacy I applied for.
Yeah.
However, registration was not an easy process. In fact, I don't think I did my registration myself, because all I did was very minimal. Running around the school was not going to be something I would have achieved myself. And so my mom came with me to ABU the first time. She stayed with me for days. She and my cousin ran around the
Yeah.
school doing my registration and all I had to do was just return. When they were done with everything, I went to my faculty to pick up my admission letter, submit some files, sign some things, and that was it. I started going to school. But like I would say, I would always say to my friends and anyone who asks, my parents brought me up in such a way that I did not see myself as different from anyone else. I had equal opportunities with my siblings. I was treated with respect and care. I only began to truly realize that there was going to be a problem when I got into ABU per se. I know, of course, Madonna had already rejected me, but at that point, I didn't even understand the problems with structural challenges as much as I did when I got to ABU. ABU, of course, it has a much bigger campus than most universities in Nigeria. And so for 100 level, I had to do a whole lot of running around, and this campus was just too large. Sometimes we had to have lectures in buildings that had very steep staircases that had no elevators. I would not forget the number of times my friends had to lift me up in my wheelchair every single day. I honestly cannot thank these people enough. They lifted me up those staircases, ensured that I could attend lectures. I had to run around so many times. My friends were there for me. I'm just so fortunate that wherever I go, people just come and want to help me, and I'm really grateful for that, honestly, because it took a community to get through ABU. Of course, I had to be determined and also do my own part. And then there was also, even when I eventually settled in my faculty in my second year, I realized that I couldn't make it into some classes. I couldn't make it into some classes because of the bombs in front of doors, and I would always be late to my class. Some lecturers were not finding it funny and they would lock me out. So I had to
Hello. Oh, we seem to have lost her or her audio there for a
people.
second or two. Oh, she's back. Okay, go ahead. We can hear you now.
Oh, sorry, please. What was the last thing you heard me say?
Just go ahead from where you are. We heard about the bumps and access into
Okay,
different
okay. So
buildings. Yeah.
eventually, yes, I had to get a motorized wheelchair because I couldn't continue to rely on people to move from place to place. There is only
Mm-hmm.
so much that people can do. They have their own courses to attend, they have their own targets to meet. So I had to get a motorized wheelchair. My father had to come to school several times to install ramps for me where I live, my classes. In fact, he will come and look at the routes I will probably take for a semester and then build ramps wherever I had to take. So it was not an easy
Oh
process at
wow.
all. I can tell you that. There were no elevators. I had to climb to the last floor. Sometimes I would be crying and puffing and huffing, but I was really determined. I was really determined to graduate because, first of all, I hate the feeling of failing. I hate to think that I started out something that I did not complete because all my life, all I have been taught about is excellence. My father expects nothing but excellence from you. And so I was also determined to make myself and my parents proud. So I was really determined. It was a very arduous process, but I eventually graduated. And even at then, the interesting thing is that at that time, I didn't even know that I was supposed to be able to access those lecture halls, those buildings, and all of that as equally, as simply, or as easily as my other colleagues. I was feeling like, okay, maybe I am where I shouldn't be. Maybe I'm aspiring to too much or something,
Yeah.
because that was the idea that my challenges were putting in my head. I had to work twice as hard as anyone else. I didn't even know that these things should be in place. I didn't know that these are the things that should be in place for me to do as well as my classmates. So when I
Yeah.
graduated, I began to study disability rights because I read widely, and I'm like, it cannot be this difficult for people in developed countries. I've heard of a president in America who was also wheelchair bound, or maybe had like
Yeah.
a physical disability, and
Mm-hmm.
there is no way that
Anyway,
someone can be that way if they were not, if the structures were this difficult. And then there was
Yeah.
something that I think changed the course of my life. I think, or rather, set me into the whole activism thing. A friend of mine in school who was always there, I wouldn't even ask. She would come and push me around. She'd be like, "Okay, Blessing, where do you want to go today? Do you need help?" And it was just like without motivation. I wasn't doing anything for her. She just wanted to help me. And then one day, just before I graduated, she said she wanted to talk to me. And that was when she opened up to me that she has a sister who is visually challenged. And this
Oh well.
lady did not go to school. She would rather sit down at home because she felt pity for herself, because she felt out of place. And so she has been at home for years. I couldn't even relate. Honestly, I couldn't relate. And that was when my eyes opened to the fact that I was coming from a privileged background, not because my parents are rich or anything, but because I had the support that made me to see myself as equal to anybody. And I think that is the best gift that anyone could have. And then that was when I realized that people like me were being sent to the streets to beg for alms. People like me were being ostracized. People like me were being taken to the villages to be hidden away from the view of the public. People were like me were being seen as a punishment from God, something to be outlawed, something to be ashamed of. Then that was when I started to do my research, and I said, okay, this cannot continue to happen. And then I even realized that there were 25 million Nigerians with disability. I was like, this is way more than the population of most countries around the world. 25 million people are not a joke. And that was when I started to share my experiences. And many people began to reach out to me. Thousands and thousands of people reach out to me and say, I have a child who is this, and I would not even want my friends to meet such a person. And your story has changed my life. I feel so ashamed of myself. Or someone will reach out to me and say, okay, I didn't even know that I could even aspire to something as pharmacy or as a writer. And with a disability, I always hide away at home because I do not like the way people look at me. And then there was I on Facebook making jokes, talking about going on dates, talking about traveling around the world, talking about meeting important people and changing the course of events. So I felt that I had a responsibility to make people realize that my story should not be unique. Every girl like me should be given an opportunity to live the best life that they can. And even though I am not there yet, but I want many people to take it up as a personal challenge to ensure that schools are accessible, to ensure that public spaces are accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You are a conqueror. But
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I'll first like to say that Mr. Ocheido, your dad, is a superman, because for him to have been able to take out that amount of time to go around, assess, and try to figure out the routes you will take to school, the buildings you will access, and build ramps for you and all that. A lot of people forget that there are some super fathers that are out there who are doing wonderful things and who should be celebrated as well. And I think your father is definitely one of them. He's a superhero for him to have been able to do all of that for his daughter.
Thank you so much.
That's a very heartwarming to know that quite a few men still care about their children. Now, you told us all that challenging experience and all of that. Now, getting a job. One of the things that I've found to be very peculiar about getting jobs in Nigeria is if you don't know somebody, you probably might not get a job, or you probably might not get the job that you desire. Now, much less for somebody who has a physical challenge. How much more challenging can it be to get a job?
Okay. Okay, this is bringing back very strong memories. I remember when I graduated, I was so certain that I was not going to struggle to get a job. You know, the whole Nigerian, okay, one uncle there, one friend there, one big man there has said he will step in and give me and help ensure I get a job. And the funny thing is that Nigerian graduates, most of the people who are underemployed or not even employed are not that way because they cannot add value or that they're not qualified, but because they don't even have that opportunity. They don't have someone speaking up for them, someone introducing them to someone to get a job. So yes, there's the whole connection thing, and then add to the fact that I have a disability. I struggled. Honestly, I struggled to get a job. Not I wanted to move on from the hospital pharmacy practice. I was tired of doing that. I've been doing that for many years. I wanted to try something else, and it did not work out. I would go for interviews. I would impress the panelists. In fact, when I was leaving one of my interviews, I could hear the panelists talking so much, saying telling glowing reports about the things I have done and the things the way I had performed. And I was so certain I was going to get that job, because that was a job I was really looking forward to doing. And I got to the second level of the interview, and then there was just one more to go. And I was so certain I was going to get that job, because that was a job I was really looking forward to doing. And
Okay, so there seems to have been an interruption again with
schedule.
the
I would,
network.
few months after that, that became a common experience for me. I wouldn't get jobs.
Okay.
And then I realized that it was because of my situation. They would simply not see me as being able to access their spaces or being able to work without help. And I was surprised, because considering where I had come from, considering how I had conquered ABU, using your word, and all of that, I didn't think that anybody would assume that I couldn't do my work as a pharmacist. It was really an eye-opening event for me. I struggled, honestly, I struggled to get a job I wanted, the job I really wanted. And eventually, I think my dad still had to step in again. He had to step in, and he
The
had to
super
give
Mr.
my, he
Ocheido.
had to yeah, he had to give my CV, my certificates and everything to people. I'm like, this lady is hardworking, this lady is more than qualified, she should be
Yeah.
given a chance to work. And I eventually got a job, the one I'm doing right now, in terms of the pharmacy practice. And that goes to show you that, yes, in fact, when I shared that story of how I struggled to get a job, I had thousands and thousands of people telling me, I have a disability, I've not been able to work since I graduated, I have a disability. And it is really bad. It is really bad that people have to beg for something that they can do. People have to reach out to uncles and aunts and say, please and please help my child. So it's really a struggle for persons with disabilities. That's why I said at the beginning that there has been a whole lot of protest works, a whole lot of stakeholders meeting, which are still ongoing, to ensure that not just public offices, but private organizations in Nigeria are very representative of persons with disabilities in their labor force. Because we cannot continue to do this. We cannot continue to say we're going to empower persons with disabilities with just wheelchairs, with just these very little things. Give them a job, make sure they can get to school, make sure that they can actually gain from that experience, give them a chance to
Yeah.
lead their own life. I don't think anyone on earth is happy to depend on people for survival. I don't think that is a good feeling, honestly. So I feel like we have to keep pushing for equal representation in employment, in education. It even starts from education. That is why most of my work is focused on ensuring that there's access to education, not just education, but quality education for
Education.
persons with disabilities. First of all, many people with disabilities do not even go to school. It's a problem. It's a problem. They are rather seen as people who should be put on the streets to beg, people who should be abandoned, people should be hidden away at home. So when we ensure that there's access to education, and then we can now also be pushing for these employment opportunities. So it is not easy at all. But we are working on it, and we are really, really hoping that with all the work that is being put into place, that there will be a very positive development in a few years to come.
So with people like you, there is a lot of light at the tunnel for Nigeria, because Nigeria has been lacking in a lot of ways when it comes to leadership. Now, a lot of people don't give the youth the opportunity to be able to display whatever talents they have, or to put their talents to use, even if, you give them the space. They actually try to limit them as much as possible. Where they think the youth are of any value so far is in the entertainment industry. But we are beginning to see quite a lot of young people like yourself coming out and doing absolutely amazing things like you have been doing. Now, we always try, to bring out the best in every situation, especially when we are having discussions with our guests on the show. Recently, we decided that we will be trying our best to give some value as well when we talk, to our guests, to the viewers who are watching. Now, speaking with you, something has come into mind, which is a gap in the market when it comes to people with disabilities. Now, Blessing, have you been to any airport in Nigeria where you actually saw a taxi, that was modeled for or adapted for people with disabilities?
Not at all. You said taxis, right? Not at all.
Taxis, So if you're watching this show and you are thinking of something that you can do for a living, maybe you're looking for a job or you're thinking of a business that you can set up, this is something that you could actually do. So you could buy a small van and you could modify the back of the van to be able to, carry passengers or take passengers from point A to point B who have physical disabilities. It's always very dreadful watching people with physical disabilities needing to have somebody to chaperone them around town, having to lift them out of their wheelchairs, place them inside the cab, and then, flatten their wheelchairs inside the trunk of the car, and they've been driven to whatever point, and then the process is reversed when they get to that destination. So you could actually fill a gap in the market by actually coming up with a mode of transportation adapted to people, adapted for people with physical disabilities. So Blessing, maybe you could, put together a group of people who have physical challenges, who can crowdfund to have that type of service. And we hope that one or two people will be able to support when you're doing that type of thing. Because people with disabilities who cannot get jobs should be able to set up small businesses of their own. We are living in the modern age now where things have evolved, where most people are going to be self-employed as opposed to be employed on the 9 to 5. So we hope that some value has been gotten by people who have watched, tonight's show. It's been absolutely fantastic talking to you. I've been very enlightened about a lot of the things that we take for granted on a day-to-day basis when it comes to people living with disabilities. I'm going to say a very big thank you to ABU Zaria again for giving you the opportunity, to achieve your dream goal, which was to become a pharmacist. I'm also going to say again a very big thank you to Mr. Ocheido, the Superman. That was fantastic. He did a great job. And you're getting married soon, I see, as well.
Yeah, I just did actually.
Oh, you're married already? Oh, yeah. I missed the wedding. I would have come.
Yeah, sorry about that. It got so busy. I couldn't even post again. I couldn't even talk about our upcoming show on Facebook. Sorry about that. It's been a busy period for me. I got married on Friday. Yes.
That is absolutely fantastic. So I'm privileged to be the first person to be talking to you online or any form of media after your wedding. So I wish you a big congratulations to yourself and your husband.
Thank you.
I wish you a very fruitful, long, and healthy life, plenty of blessings, and I hope both of you will continue to contribute your good quota to society, and society will also recognize your great efforts. Thank you so much for taking out the time to join us tonight, Blessing. It's been really exciting. It's been really interesting. Thank you. You have a great night.
Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful opportunity. Thank you for the privilege. Looking forward to more.
Same here. I'm looking forward to more. Hope to have you on again sometime soon. You take care. So, very enlightening, very interesting. We hear different types of stuff every day. I mean, we have been on air for close to a year now, and we've never spoken about people with disabilities. We never even mentioned, at any point in time. So it's a big shame to us that we did not notice or take note of that much earlier. And personal message to myself, and then of course to everybody else at formaradio.com, at colormedia.com, all our partners that we do business with. We're going to make sure that we start talking about people with disabilities and trying to give them an opportunity as well, so that we do not have, the melee of people not being able to get things done simply because they have a disability. Being physically challenged is not being mentally challenged. So equal opportunities for everybody. So I'd like to say a big thank you to all the viewers who have taken out the time. But before we go, like we always do, we'll always give our social messages. And of course, what we always start with is the issue of rape. We talk about rape on every show at the closing, and we talk about how people can easily gain your confidence and then betray that confidence by assaulting the people that are close to you, either the children, the youth, or the elderly in the family. There has been an issue that has been trending recently of an actor who is alleged to have molested a child, i.e., rape. And simply because the mother of the child trusted him enough to allow him into her environment, even if it was for a few minutes, like she said, that he was left alone with the child, he took advantage of the child. That is the story so far. We don't know what the outcome is going to be, but one thing we would like to say is this. People have to be careful with who they leave their children with. We've said this time without number. You can never tell. It's not written on the forehead. You have pedophiles and you have rapists who are on the prowl. They seem like normal, everyday people, but behind closed doors, it's a different thing entirely. Your children sometimes will not say things, but you can actually see from their body language that something is wrong. So you do need to be able to keep a close eye on the behavioral traits of your children and your wards so that this type of events do not occur in your own environment. It is physically damaging, it is mentally damaging, it is one of the worst traumas that anybody can go through, especially when they are children. Now, it is not only female children who are vulnerable, male children are vulnerable as well. 1 in 4 women in Nigeria, I always use Nigeria because that's where I am from originally, and it's a country that's very dear to my heart. So 1 in 4 women in Nigeria experience sexual assault before the age of 21. That's 25%. So if you're standing outside, your house, just shooting the breeze, and you see 4 women walk past, 1 out of those 4 has actually been traumatized, been assaulted, and gone through sexual molestation. We all need to be very careful. We all need to keep our eyes peeled, listen to our children, listen to our words, keep a close eye on them. Now, don't forget, even the elderly are very vulnerable as well. So we do need to be very, very careful. And like we always say, please say that you do not support rape. Let us try to find a way to stop this evil malay called rape. Say something about it. Use any of the hashtags that you see on your screen, either hashtag no excuse or hashtag no to rape, to say that you do not support rape. We're glad that the likes of Alibaba and a few others also came out and did the video to say that they do not support rape and that rape is not something to even be joked about. So just doing a campaign to make sure that people stop joking about rape, whether it is a comedy skit or it is just a joke that is being cracked, whether in social environments or in business environments. No jokes when it comes to rape. It is a dangerous thing. It is destroying people. So please, let's fight against it. Let's use the hashtags on our screen. Let's say something against rape. COVID-19 is still very real. A lot of people are still getting sick. A lot of people are still dying. So please, you need to stay safe. You need to use your face mask in any public space that you are in. Still wash your hands as often as you can. Try and keep a safe space of 1 meter if you can. In most places, you probably would have the space to do that. So please still try and do that. Even if you've gotten your COVID-19 jab, it does not mean that you probably still cannot spread either the disease or actually get it yourself. So it's better to be safe than to be sorry. Don't buy used face masks. Don't share face masks with anyone. You never know. You just never know. Please, everybody, stay safe out there. Would love to see you consistently, either watching the show or walking on the streets or riding a bicycle or just going for a drive. But we'd love to see that people are healthy and things go back to normal as soon as possible. I love to travel and I'm being limited right now. It's slowing me down. I don't like it, but that's what COVID-19 is doing. So very soon, hopefully, all these lockdowns in different countries are going to stop and things will go back to normal. And I hope we'll see you around as well. See you next week, Sunday, same time. Another interesting guest. And please, this time around, make sure that you either comment or you call in and contribute. We would appreciate that. Thank you very much. And you have a great night. Good night.